What is a sea day? There are really only three kinds of days on a cruise ship: embarkation day, sea days, and port days. And embarkation day is pretty busy, but the busiest days per cruise for passengers and crew are your sea days. And it just depends on which itinerary you have, is how many sea days you have. One of my cruise ships did a transatlantic cruise from Miami all the way to Europe. So we had 9 sea days in a row. So if you think about, there's only so much to do on a cruise ship, right? It's just one place that you can't leave, right? But there's only so much to do. So think about 9. So you have to fill that 24-hour period of one day with activities to keep passengers occupied and happy, right? But it's nice to have port days in there because passengers will get off the ship and go do something else. So you can kind of, as a crew member, take a breather and say, all right, I can rest, and then when the passengers come back, now I have the energy to entertain, to keep them satisfied, back on the ship. But if you have 9 sea days in a row and there's only so much to do, it's easy to get bored. And it's really difficult to keep thousands of people occupied and fully happy 9 days in a row, basically trapped, unable to leave. You know what I mean? So that those transatlantic ones are pretty nuts. But let's say a normal 7-day cruise, you're going to have a handful of port days, handful of sea days. So it's not too bad. Basically, every single one of my ships, the first day after embarkation day was a sea day, which was fine because that whole first day, the passengers will be exploring the ship. They'll be finding out the restaurants. They might be using that whole first day to figure out, to solve some issues with their stateroom. That first night was kind of rough. Whatever, if any issues that first night, they can solve that. They're also walking around, exploring all the different decks and areas, different restaurants, different bars, blah blah blah. Right. So on that first sea day, a lot of the stuff that we had was like seminars and like meetings about, the shore excursions team would have a big meeting in the theater, a big like not a show, but you know what I mean, where they would invite anybody who wanted to come to see, and they would talk about all the different ports that they're about to go see, and all the different, or many of the excursions that are offered at these ports, right? So they take that first sea day where you can't leave the ship, and they tell you, but when we can leave the ship, here's all the things, Also, the port shopping consultant would have their own kind of speech where they would show all the different kinds of shopping options at all the different ports, talk about the cost savings and stuff, and the diamonds and the jewelry and stuff like this, right? So we had a lot of these kind of seminars. The spa is, everyone's up there. They have their own little shows and get-togethers. They're showing all the different events and things throughout the cruise that you can find up in the spa. So like the art gallery is having their own meeting where passengers can come and see all the different things that are going to happen throughout the cruise. So like sea day 1 is, it's the first let's start my vacation, but it's also like where all the information for all the things you possibly think as a guest, all the things that you think you might want to do, that's the day that all the information is going to be given out to you, right? And help you plan your the rest of your cruise, And so as a crew member, that's nice because it helps fill up a lot of that time throughout the day to keep guests occupied, But like I said, sea days are like the busiest days for crew members because everyone's on the ship, so nobody can leave. So you have all the passengers, and every passenger is looking for their own fun. So you have to offer so many different things, and you have to be on it. And so like if you look at the on Norwegian Cruise Line, like our daily kind of newsletter thing that we would give passengers on a if the day was a sea day, it was just like hundreds of activities and small just like right. And then on a port day, it was like double spaced, And the reason they do it is like you don't have to offer as many activities on a port day because you have most of the people are off the ship, so you don't have to occupy the time of thousands of people. They're doing stuff on land, so you can have less. So and on port days you can have less people, like less crew members, right? Doing the work, right? So, but sea days are super busy. They're not chaotic, but you think about like, and not to mention because the ship is at sea, everyone who works on the ship is going to be on the ship. So you're not giving the people days off on a sea day. Everybody's working. Everyone is working the whole day. You know what I mean? Both because you need them and also because there's nothing else to do. So, they're going to be working. The youth staff, who are up in the kid zone areas, they're fully staffed up there because all the kids on the ship are going to be up there because it's a sea day. They're not, they got 1,000, not 1,000, they got hundreds of kids sometimes on peak seasons. They got to deal with all these kids, So there's just activity after activity. And then me as a broadcast tech, it was also my busiest day, especially that first couple of sea days, because we also would do like cooking demonstrations every couple of days. We would have these different kind of things. Some of these seminars, some of these meetings, they would want us to film them, So I would film the port shopping consultants, like seminar in the theater, and then I would edit it and then I would play it on their channel so that so guests could go back and watch it on TV if they didn't watch it in the theater, and they could see it, every day or whatever, just to get the information back. Same thing with the shore excursions. They had their own channel on our TVs, and so I would tape if they had a new manager or they had some new excursions they're entering, or if we're changing ports. Anytime it was any difference, I would go in there and I would film that next seminar, and then I would put it on TV for the passengers. Everything I did based around the TV was to show passengers, So they also, we had a cruise consultant on the ship too, and even day one, they're telling you, hey, if you want, I know this is day one of this cruise, but if you sign up for the next cruise, you save a bunch of money. So why not go ahead and put a down payment on the next cruise today? So they go ahead and they're getting it done. You know what I mean? So everybody's busy and there's always something to do. Sea days in general are just longer days, And that's what's funny too. Like you go to crew bar, and the night before a sea day, there's not as many people in there because everybody's got to get up at like 6 a.m. and they got to work for like 12 hours the whole next day. Like everybody knows sea days are going to be, got a lot of things I got to do. So I can't just be like hungover. But if the next day's a port day, crew bar's popping, because people are like, it's a port day. There's not, and some of them might have the morning off, you know what I mean? So sleeping in a little bit's not a big deal. But you get kind of used to it. And after you've done a couple of cruises, you kind of know, like, okay, sea day 1 is going to be this busy, but sea day 2 and sea day 3 are going to kind of be like this. You know what I mean? And especially if you have an itinerary that kind of repeats itself every single week or whatever. I mean, and like a lot of times if you have a 7-day cruise that's just kind of the same cruise over and over and over, a lot of times the activity itinerary doesn't change either, So, sea day 1, we're doing these 10 things in this show. And then, the couple port days, and then sea day 2, we're going to do this and this and this and this show. So you start to get acclimated with all the activities, and you kind of get into a groove. And so it doesn't really seem that bad, at least from the entertainment side. I don't know. It might be brutal to work in the galleys on sea days because you just got to have so much food and you got to deal with so many people all the time. But for me, it was all good. So enjoy your sea days. Don't don't be too hungover to work the full sea day.